It is me, Kat Cowan, in for Toby at breakfast on BBC Radio Sheffield. And next week we'll see the end of the uplift to universal credit and working tax credits. The £20 a week increase to these benefits was brought in by the government in March 2020 to help people through the pandemic. According to research by the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, more than 150,000 families across South Yorkshire and North Derbyshire are going to be affected by the changes. Maria Smith from Grassmoor near Chesterfield is one of them and spoke to our reporter Jenny Els.
My name's Maria Smith. I'm 39 years old. I'm a single mum to two children, one who's almost 16 and one who's 9. I get universal credit to help me. I can't work. A couple of years ago I was diagnosed with pancreatitis, so I have a lot of tummy problems. I also have osteoarthritis, bulging discs, and a lot of problems with my spine, my knees, my feet, my neck. I've got a prolapsed disc in my neck from a car accident a few years ago. My daily pain levels are quite high and I do have to have quite a lot of pain relief.
Tell me what universal credit pays for then within the household.
Well, my universal credit, generally it goes towards my bills. So I have to give myself a weekly allowance. So I set so much aside for my bills. And then I give myself an allowance which I transfer over to my account on a weekly basis, just so I can try and stay on top of my money and I don't get myself into too much trouble.
And how has that uplift of the £20 helped?
Well, it's helped for a number of reasons. I mean, my youngest child, who also has autism, ADHD, sensory processing issues, she also suffers with esophagitis, which is inflammation of the digestive system. So a lot of the time she's had to have special restricted diets. So she's had to have egg, wheat, soya, dairy, gluten, everything excluded from her diet. Now, the only place I can get that sort of food from is Tesco's. So the extra money has helped me to ensure that I can get her the food that she needs. Also as well, we have a lot of medical appointments between us both. So it means regular trips to Sheffield Children's Hospital, Northern General, Hallamshire and locally at Chesterfield Royal. So it helps as well with fuel in my car so I can get her to the appointments and get myself to the appointments as well.
With this uplift now stopping, how do you feel about the future?
It's bleak. I mean, all the things with COVID and everything else, it's put a lot of pressure on not just my family, but other families and people that I know. The future, I think, is scary because I don't know. They could suddenly just change your money again, then it affects you again, and then you've got to work out how to pay everything, and it's complicated, but bleak, I'd say.
So £20 a week equates to roughly about £80 a month. With that not being there, what kind of adjustments will you have to make?
It just means I'm going to have to try and spend a little less on shopping, try and lower my fuel amount from £20 a week, try and see if I can manage with £15 a week. It's just, I've got to just really scale back, check all my bills. It may mean that I have to put extra money towards my bills, so then that gives me less per week to manage on. So yeah, I can't understand why they've decided to take it 2 months before Christmas. Why could they not have left families till January instead of putting people in hardship just before Christmas? I think it's cruel.
And would you ever be tempted to lend from anywhere else?
I've had credit cards and loans in the last few years. I can't afford to pay them back, so I'm now on a debt management plan. So I'm trying to still pay my bills, but paying a lot lower amount than what I was. Taking away the support does not mean that COVID's gone. I mean, COVID is very much still around. The hospitals are still struggling. The vaccinations are rolling out, but there are still people being admitted every day with it. It's not gone away. So how can they just stop the support from everybody, whether it's just the universal credit or whether it's the furlough scheme and stuff like that? How can they just stop the support when COVID is very much still around? There are also a lot of families and stuff, their partners have had their hours cut, they're out to work and stuff like that, and it would just mean so much more to families to be able to keep the money at the level it is rather than taking it down.
Colin Hampton is from the Derbyshire Unemployed Workers Centre in Chesterfield, and I can talk to him now. Colin, your organisation supports people like Maria. What's it been like for you and them in recent weeks as the uplift deadline moved closer?
Good morning. Hundreds and hundreds of people we're in touch with who are on universal credit are obviously very concerned and fearful of what's going to happen. In the whole of Derbyshire, there are 70,000 households that are going to be affected. And to put that in context, that's the equivalent of 2 constituencies in the whole county. So this is not a small issue. It's a massive issue where people are going to have £20 a week, £80 a month taken away from them. And these aren't just people who are on benefits. 40% of the people on universal credit are in work. And the fact that, the government says it was a temporary uplift, the reason it was given in the first place was because universal credit is inadequate. And they knew it was inadequate at the start of the pandemic. And so when lots of people were going on to universal credit, they put it up. And now they think they can get away with putting it down. But it's foolish economics because poverty costs millions. And it's foolish to try and cut back today something that's going to cost you thousands, millions in the future. And the effect that it's going to have on our children is massive.
Well, the government would say in their statement, they say that they've been always clear that the uplift to universal credit was temporary and it was designed not, as you say, to improve something that wasn't sufficient. They say it was designed to help claimants through the initial economic shock and financial disruption of the toughest stages of the pandemic when so many people were out of work or on furlough, and they say it's sort of done its job. And, today in the news, we're reporting on a jobs fair in Sheffield. We're hearing about there's, various different parts of various different industries with lots and lots of jobs available. Why, some people would say, well, look, there's work out there. Can't the people who are affected by this go and either increase their hours or get different, better paid jobs? What would you say to that?
Well, for a start, the situation for those on low pay or on benefits is worse now than it is before the pandemic. Everyone can see prices going up in the supermarkets. We can see massive energy price rises, price of fuel. And then we've got the forthcoming hike on national insurance, which is going to, again, cost the poor. And not everyone who's on universal credit can go to work. So the idea that work is the way out of poverty just isn't true. And impoverishing people doesn't force people into work. It actually does the opposite, has the opposite effect, increases mental health problems, the problems of debt, financial insecurity. What helps people into work is help and financial help and security help people to get back into work. I've been at the Unemployed Workers Centre here for years, and we see people and we know what helps people get back into work, and we know what people tell us. And certainly impoverishing people is not the way forward. And the pandemic's laid bare the massive inequality in our society. Twice as many poor people were hospitalised or died of COVID-19 than rich people. It's actually shone a light on the problems in our society.
What difference does £20 a week less make to the people that you help? What decisions and choices will they be making?
Well, people are telling us, obviously, things like that they're not going to be able to put the heating on, that they're going to be struggling to actually fill the meter. People are going to be living without light and heat. Serious problems in terms for those people who would need to need a car or some for hospital treatments or things like that. People are going to have to really, really look hard at their money, and I'm afraid it's going to mean a cycle of debt. It's going to be payday loans. It's going to be all the things that we don't want, and that's going to be caused by this. And let's not just say it's about people in poverty. £80 a month out of thousands of people's income is going to affect business. It's going to take money out of the local businesses, and it's plunging our area into a worse situation when we're supposed to be trying to get ourselves out of an economic mess. This is just going to plunge us deeper into one.
Now, we do know that various decisions get made, or we get told that it's going to happen, and then either it doesn't eventually happen or there's a change of heart. Do you foresee any sign of a U-turn on this? Do you think there's any willingness in the government to think again about the taking this uplift away?
Well, I would hope that even at this late stage they will consider it. And many in their ranks are also very uneasy about what the government's doing. And we urge people to write an email to your MP, get to the surgery if you can, and contact us because we want to know your stories. It's really, if the government is saying that it wants to level up, then taking £80 a month, £20 a week out of the pockets of the poorest people across the country, how is that levelling up? I know he hasn't, the Prime Minister hasn't actually said what it means, but surely it cannot mean taking money off the poorest at a time when prices are rising and the energy prices are rising and the demands being made on people are insufferable. It cannot mean that. So I think that eventually they're going to have to go back on this because it doesn't make economic sense and it doesn't make sense for our future and for our children's future.
Colin Hampton, thank you so much for talking to me this morning. That's Colin from the Derbyshire Unemployed Workers Centre in Chesterfield. I read part of the statement that the government gave us. They also said that Universal Credit will continue to provide vital support for those both in and out of work, and it's right that the government should focus on supporting people back into work and those who are already employed to earn more. We know that this is going to affect a lot of families across South Yorkshire, North Derbyshire, this reduction in Universal Credit, taking away that uplift, £80 a week, a month less. And we heard earlier from Brian, who says one of the things, he's disabled, his wife's disabled. One of the decisions he might make is that they'll have to go to bed earlier because it'll be too cold to sit downstairs. If you're affected by this, please do get in touch. 0800 111 49 49.
Cat Cowan on BBC Radio Sheffield.